Hey, I'm Grant with Grant's Game Rex. Welcome to my monthly video on the best games coming to retail. Every month I run through about 25 of the best games coming to retail. These are games that are coming to your friendly local game store, coming to online marketplaces, coming to big box stores like Target, different things for different games. And there's no ranking here. I just do them based on, alphabetical order for the publishers slash distributors. So, stick around for the whole video because maybe the 25th one is the one you're excited about. As always, thank you for liking and subscribing. I hate saying that, but they tell me it's important, so this is me trying to do it. Hey, thank you. All right, these are the best games coming to retail in February 2023. 25th Century Games, which is not even part of the alphabet because it's a number, has two releases to retail this month. The first of which is Velonimo, and this is from famous designer Bruno Qawale, who has a ton of different games. I'm sure you know and love a lot of them, King Domino, Five Tribes, things like that. And this is a small box card game. So, 25th Century Games and Bruno Qawale recently published together a game called Oh My Brain, which was a small box card game, which I really loved. It was one of my favorite small box card games of the last year, and so I have high hopes for this one. This is a ladder climbing card game, and there's not really a lot of theme to it. If you're looking for theme, this ain't it. This is like a card game. If you're looking for clever mechanisms in a card game, this is good for you. Of it is climbing the hills on your bicycle to claim this famous jersey, and there is fun artwork of all these animals on bicycles and that sort of stuff. But it's not really like I don't know that you feel like an animal on a bicycle when you're playing this game. You feel like you're playing cards. So, if you want a small box clever card game, check out Velonimo. The other game that 25th Century Games is releasing is Blazon, and this one is definitely more about the theme here. You are building up your heraldry shield. The warriors from ancient times put symbols and things like that on their shields. Put patterns and mythological creatures and that sort of stuff. And that's what you're doing in this game. You are trying to build up your heraldry shield by placing some tiles and fulfilling objectives and that sort of stuff. So it's got that sort of old school feel, that old school look to it. So if you like old-timey things, this is definitely one of those types of games. A lot of different stuff going in it, hand management, set collection, tile placement, a bunch of different mechanisms thrown into this game, but that theme of building up your heraldry shield is what ties it all together and is definitely the reason why you're going to want to play this game. Arcane Wonders is releasing Dice Manor to retail. This is a dice rolling bidding game, and one of the interesting things about it is you are doing your bidding through the dice roll results. You're not placing your dice or that sort of stuff. It's not like you place a dice and you get resources. No, you are bidding on blueprints to build up your manor, to build up your house. So based on your results, your dice results, you can bid certain dice to get different blueprints to build up your house. And so it's kind of a different way to do bidding, right? It's a different way to do an auction game, to have your dice do your bidding for you. And so it says after every round, after you bid, then you get to re-roll and then bid again and that sort of stuff. So yeah, it sounds like an interesting way to do it. And it's from Arcane Wonders, and I like a lot of the stuff that they're making. It is one of the things I've read about it is that it's a lighter game than people originally thought. It's definitely not a heavy game. It's on the sort of lighter to maybe light medium weight. Plays in 30 to 45 minutes for 2 to 4 players. That is Dice Manor. Ares Games is releasing Fighters of the Pacific. If you are a fan of war games, this is a war game for you. Ares Games is known for their war games. This is, it combines the air and sea combat in the Pacific theater of war during World War II. So there's aircraft carriers, there's airplanes, there's combat in a bunch of different ways in the game. Literally, you have a huge modular board, you've got aircraft carriers, you've got destroyers, you got aircrafts, you got a bunch of different stuff. And the game comes with 10 scenarios included. So there are 10 different battles you can play in the game. So yeah, if you like war games, this is a 2-player game that takes 120 minutes. So if you want a combat game, check out Fighters of the Pacific. All right, next up we have Asmodee and Glass Cannon Unplugged are releasing Frostpunk, the board game. Frostpunk, very famous video game, a sort of post-apocalyptic frozen world video game, and this is the board game version of that video game. It is a city survival game where heat means life and every decision comes with a cost. It is a cooperative game that is very difficult. You will die a lot playing Frostpunk. So if you want a real challenge in a cooperative game, this is a good one to check out. But it is hard. And it's not just hard in terms of its complexity and how it plays. It is hard in the actual trying to win and trying to accomplish something in the game. It is also, in addition to being a hard game, it is a fairly complex game. This is the heaviest in terms of BGG weights rating that is on my list this month. They have it at a 4.3 out of 5 right now. So there is a lot going on. And there's also a lot going on in terms of the mechanisms of the game. There's worker placement, there's a modular board, there's, actions, there's events that are happening. There's a ton of different stuff going on. So the overhead is a decent amount. There's a lot of setup and teardown, but it looks amazing on the table. If you want something that's got a bunch of, there's a big tower in the middle of the board, there's this cool modular board, there's a lot going on in terms of that sort of stuff. So Frostpunk had a big Kickstarter, and now this is the retail release coming out now. So if you didn't back the Kickstarter, you have a chance to get it now. Asmodee and Pearl Games are releasing Lofoten. There's not really a way to look up how these things are pronounced. I guess I should do more on that. I watch videos and I see how other people pronounce it, and I'm like, is that right? I hope so, but we could all just be doing it wrong together. So Lofoten is a 2-player only game. It is a medium weight game, and it's Vikings, but it's not Viking combat, which is one of the cool things about the theme of the game. A lot of Viking games are obviously like smash them up, steal some stuff, fight people, that sort of thing. This is more of an economic game, a Viking economic game, instead of a smash and grab and loot type of game. One of the interesting things, it's almost hard to explain right now. I haven't had a chance to play it myself, but it's so unique that it's hard to give like a little overview of it, because you have a board and you'll be slotting cards in the board and you can rotate the board. The board can rotate 360 degrees. So if you line a card up with a tile that is on the sort of central board, then you can take that tile. So it's a lot about sort of figuring out how to rotate your board to get the goods that you need so that you can deliver those for points. And I've never seen a game that has that sort of rotate the board 360 degrees mechanism in it. So it feels very unique in that way. I have heard that it also does feel very mechanical. This is a game where you are aware of the mechanisms and the game is about the mechanisms more than about the theme. But if you want a unique two-person game, in the way it plays, in the physical way it plays, then this seems like that for sure. I mean, there's so many games coming out all the time right now. It's hard to do something unique. So I'm always intrigued and excited by a game that does something different. And Lofoten feels like it's doing something different. Lookout Games, in association with Asmodee, is releasing Stack and Stuff, a patchwork game. So this is a standalone game, but it's almost like a sequel to the game Patchwork. If you've never played Patchwork, it is a really great two-player game where you are doing tile laying. It's a tile laying two-player game where you are building up a quilt. And this attempts to be a bit of an easier, more streamlined version of Patchwork. So if you're introducing somebody new to games and Patchwork seems too much for them, then check out Stack and Stuff. The theme of this one is that you are packing a moving truck. So, real life, you know? Hey, did you not help your buddy pack and move last weekend? Well, now force them to play this game with you this weekend about moving stuff. Make them relive that awful experience of moving. I feel like moving is only fun when you're a little kid. Man, when I was like 8 years old, we moved, and I spent all day just like crawling in the nooks and crannies of the moving trucks. It was awesome. That's the only time moving has ever been awesome for me. But it's the same polyomino tiles like Patchwork, and you are trying to fit them into your moving truck and rearrange them and all that sort of stuff to fit them into the back of the moving truck, just like in real life where you have to puzzle Tetris stuff together. So it is certainly a relatable theme. It plays in 20 to 30 minutes and is a two-player only game. So, and it also, they say, plays age 6 and up. So again, if you like Patchwork but you feel it's a little too complex for your kid or something like that, then Stack and Stuff might be the right game. Capstone Games is releasing the solo-only game Aleph Null. So this is our first solo-only game on the list this month. Plays in 15 to 30 minutes, so it is a fairly quick card-based game with a wild theme. So you play as a successful magician, but you've spent most of your career, delivering for liars and philanderers, gluttons, and now a client comes along and commissions you to release the denizens of hell along with Baphomet, the Sabbath goat, at their head for one night only and let them run amok. So can you do that? That's what you're trying to do. It is a card-based game, as I mentioned, and in the game you are trying to successfully summon the Demon Prince, but when he appears, you have to have no cards in your hand, no cards in the main deck, and no cards in the discard pile. You need all of the cards in play at the same time. So, can you accomplish that? Then you summoned a demon, and you should feel proud of yourself. Should you? In this game, you should. So, yeah, that is, again, if you like solo-only games, this is, it's got cool artwork, and it's definitely, it takes that theme, a bit tongue-in-cheek, I'm sure. So, that is Aleph Null. Crowd Games is releasing City of the Great Machine to retail this month, and this is a good time to mention that I also do a best expansions coming to retail video every month. And the reason I am mentioning it now is because City of the Great Machine has a couple of expansions that are also coming out this month, so I'll be talking about those more in my best expansions coming to retail video. It usually comes out, 5-7 days after this one. So if you're interested in expansions, make sure to check that one out because it is an expansion to the retail series. Huh? We did that together. We accomplished something. So City of the Great Machine is an awesome looking game for sure. It is set in a grim universe of technocratic Victorian steampunk, and it is a one versus many game or a cooperative game because the one can be played by the game, can be automatic. So one person either plays as the Great Machine, and the Great Machine's ultimate goal is to suppress social unrest and complete its grandiose master plan to perfect mankind, which feels kind of like it has some dark, sinister undertones to me. I don't know if I trust this plan from this artificial intelligence. When has artificial intelligence ever been good in a movie or a board game? And the other players play as heroes working against the Great Machine to start a revolution. So as I mentioned, it can be one versus many, or you can play it solo and cooperative, just playing against the game itself, who is controlling the Great Machine. There's a bunch of different things in it. There's hidden movement, there's resource management, there's asymmetric gameplay. It is a heavy medium weight game. I would put it on it's a 3.5 on BGG's complexity rating. Plays in 60 to 90 minutes. So it's definitely on that, heavier end of the medium scale. And again, just looks really cool on the table. The artwork and the look of it all. I love that steampunk look, man. I don't know. It's cool. I'm glad I don't have to live it, but I like looking at it. Devere Games is releasing a couple of games to retail this month. The first of which is Bamboo. So this is from designer Herman Milan, who did Bitoku. And that was his sort of burst onto the scene, at least here in America. And this is his follow-up game to Bitoku. But it is a lighter game than Bitoku was a pretty heavy, complex game. This is more in that medium game category. And one of the things I really like about this game is they describe it as accessible and easy to learn rules, but with deep and strategic gameplay that you keep learning more and more about. And that's like really my wheelhouse. Like I want a game that I can teach to most people, but still has a lot of interesting strategy to it. So I'm excited to check this one out. And one of the other things is, as a box goes for a strategic game, it is a fairly small box for a strategic game. If you've ever played Red Cathedral from Devere, which is an amazing game, it's about that box size, and they cram a lot of interesting game into a fairly small box. In Bamboo, you are you're growing bamboo and then using that to do stuff to improve your home. And it's not just like building things for your home. You're also like seeking balance for your home, and you're cooking things, and you're managing your finances, all in the name of having a happy home and a happy family. And that's a pretty nice theme. I think we all want that. We all want to have a happy home. And so in Bamboo, you can work for it. So check that out. Devere is also releasing Savernake Forest. This is a much lighter game than Bamboo. This is a 2 to 4 player game that plays in 20 to 40 minutes. And in the game, you are building a 4x4 grid of cards, and you're building pathways for animals. And you want only a single animal on a pathway, because then they get to collect the food on that pathway. And so you want multiple different trails through your forest so that you can feed your animals and score points. We've had a lot of different nature sort of forest themed games in the last year or two, and this certainly slots along with those. But one of the things I like about it is it's about fall, and most of the nature-based games that we've seen are more like spring-based. They're like everything's blooming, everything's growing. And this one, it's like, no, the trees are falling off. And I like that because I live in Los Angeles and we don't have fall here, okay? Fall is not something I experience, and so I gotta experience it in a board game. And I like that, No leaves fall off of trees here. Don't you fall off those trees, leaves. You better stay on those trees. So, that's just, we threaten our leaves all the time and then they stay up there. That's how Los Angeles works. So if you want a fall-based nature game, check out Savernake Forest. Gamerati is releasing Flappy Families, and this is certainly a family game that skews towards kids. It can play kids as young as 6 years old, and it is a memory game with beautiful birds in it. There are birds out here, and you're flipping over cards and trying to get the same families of birds. If you flip over 2 cards and they're the same family, you get to keep them. Or if you take 1 card, you get to put one of your own cards face down. So now you have to remember where that is. So definitely a memory game. But one of the cool things is that all of the birds in it are native to New Zealand. So you wanna see, you can't travel to New Zealand, but you wanna see about the birds there, then play this game. I love that about board games. They can take you different places even if you don't go there physically. And so, yeah, it's just got a lot of, pretty bird artwork in it, and a memory game for the whole family. Gamerati is also releasing The Big Shuffle, and this is a film noir themed game. It looks like one of those old noir movies from the 50s where you're like, hey, he's in trouble. See, we gotta figure it out, Jimmy. See. That's this game, and one of the interesting things about this game is there are 6 different characters in it, and all of the characters are asymmetric, but not just in the way they play, also in the way they win the game. Every character has a different win condition in the game. So you are trying to manipulate stuff in the shared area in order to complete your own win condition and your own objective. So it plays 2 to 4 players in 30 to 90 minutes. So the artwork is really cool. If you like that film noir look, then this is definitely one to check out. And, sounds interesting with those different win conditions in the game. Hachette Games, in association with Gigameek, is releasing Qawale to retail this month. So Gigameek has a whole line of abstract wooden games, games like Corridor, things like that feel like a chess, or they feel like old school games, but they're games that have come out in the last 10 years, and Qawale fits right along with that. It is a beautiful abstract game without much theme to it, but it plays in 15 minutes and it plays 2 players. So if you're a fan of beautiful abstract games, this is a cool one. The mechanisms of the game is a lot like Mancala. You are picking up a stack of stones and then dropping one off as you move around the board, and the first player to get 4 in a row wins the game. So you are just moving these stacks around, dropping things off, trying to get 4 in a row. So, but again, has that classic sort of old school feel to it. Heidelbar, in association with Flat River Group, is releasing Tales on Fire. Heidelbar is known for their small box card games that sort of feel like unique takes on classic card games. And this game, I think, slots right along in that line. It does have very bright, vibrant artwork, so that's one of the things that attracted me to it. It just looks so fun and whimsical and bright on the table, So if you like the look of that, in the game, players are choosing 3 cards out of 10 to use for the round, and then on their turn, you can play a card exactly 1 higher than the last card, or you have to pass. And so there's also a bit of a memory in this game of which cards you think. There's a bit of reading other players, outsmarting other players. What cards do they think you're going to play versus which one you're doing, that sort of stuff. So again, if you like, interesting little card games, plays 2 to 6 players in 20 minutes. Flat River Group, in association with Yellow, is releasing Cheese Master. So Cheese Master is a very quick dice rolling game, plays 2 to 8 players, 10 to 20 minutes play time. And you are rolling the dice and then having to be the first to read the results of the dice. Because there are 4 cheese, but there are also 2 mice that are eating cheese. There's also 1 cat that is chasing the mice before they get to eat the cheese. There is a dog making the cat run away. So you roll the dice and have to process the information as quickly as possible to see how many actual cheeses there are. Because just because you rolled 4 cheeses doesn't mean there's 4 cheeses. Because if a mouse ate them, then that's 1 less cheese. But then if the cat chased away the mouse, then there's that cheese is back. And so then you're like having to process all that information really quick. So, can you be the quickest of the slowest players just staring at some dice, trying to go, okay, what is that? That's 3 cheeses. That is 3 cheeses. So that one plays as young as 8. So that is Cheese Master. Kids Table Board Games is releasing the game Power Plants to retail. And this is another game that has a vibrant, colorful look to it. It is a area control tile laying game, I suppose you would call it. But in the tile laying, you're not like building out tiles with polyominoes or anything. You're putting down these plant tiles, and then the interesting thing about the game is you can either activate the strong ability of the tile you placed, or you can activate the weak abilities of all the ones touching it. So that's a real hard choice. Do you want 1 strong ability? Do you want 3 weaker abilities? What are you going to use at different times? And all of the different colored plants tiles, all of the different colors have different special abilities. So there's a lot of replay and a lot of figuring out what combos well together, when to do different stuff. It plays 1 to 5 players, but from what I've heard, it plays best at 2 players because higher player counts can get a little bit more chaotic. There's just a lot going on, a lot of stuff happening. And it is a fairly cutthroat game. So, you are trying to control areas of it, and you're putting out sprites, but different special abilities are going to let you steal other people's sprites. They're going to let you remove them from the game. So you're constantly screwing over other people in the game. So do you like games like that? Do you like some take that in your games? Then check out Power Plants. Look at that scary power. Look at that powerful plant on the cover. It's scary. That plant is powerful. I don't want to come in contact with that. It'll steal your arm. Get out of here, plant. Oink Games is releasing Order Overload Cafe. So this is Oink Games, known for their very small box games, literally about that size. And this is the same thing. Fits right into that line of small box games. This one is a cooperative game where you are going to deal out a certain number of cards in a round and then read them aloud, and those cards represent orders. And then everybody has to remember the orders, because on your turn, then you have to name one of the orders that's in another player's hand. If everybody can do that, you win the round, and then you add more cards. You have to increasingly get more difficult as the rounds go on. You add more and more cards, so you have more and more to remember. So have you ever worked in the service industry? This is going to give you flashbacks of trying to remember all these crazy orders from people, that sort of thing. So, it's a small box party game, plays 2 to 6 players in 20 minutes. It seems like we have a lot of, more casual games this month for sure. There's a lot of different casual games and multiple games that have memory aspects to them. So, how's your memory in February? That's what the board game world is asking you right now. That is Order Overload Cafe. Ravensburger is releasing the Lord of the Rings adventure book game. This is a Target exclusive, so if you want to get this one, you got to go to Target. And it is the 3rd game in their adventure book series, their adventure book line. They did one on The Wizard of Oz. They did one on The Princess Bride. Now this one is the Lord of the Rings. And it's called an adventure book game because there's literally a book, and it has 8 different chapters in it, and every time you flip a page, that's a new board to play on. That is your game board, and they all come with different puzzles and challenges, so you have to solve the puzzles and challenges in order to advance the story. And, from a storytelling aspect, if you like Lord of the Rings, there's a lot of your favorite stuff here. You're going to be avoiding Black Riders in the Shire. You're going to survive the Mines of Moria. You're going to make a final stand at Mordor. Things like that. So it really is very thematic. And, also family-based game. Each of the chapters takes about 20 minutes. So if you want to play through the whole thing, it's a multiple hours. And it plays as young as 10, they say, but if you're playing it as a family, I'm sure you could play younger than that. So, if you like a cooperative family gaming and you like Lord of the Rings, then check out Lord of the Rings Adventure Book Game. Flat River Group, in association with Sit Down Games, is releasing Gardeners to retail this month. This is a 1 to 4 player game that takes 15 minutes. And I know it takes 15 minutes because there is a 15-minute timer in the game, because it is a real-time game. This is not a game that lies to you on its box. So many games are like, this takes 30 minutes to play. And you're like, in what world can people play this in 30 minutes? But this one actually takes 15 minutes because there is a 15-minute timer. It is a simultaneous cooperative game that is played silently. So if you've ever played Magic Maze, this is from the same publishers as that, and it's, similar. It is a silent cooperative game. In the game, you are trying to arrange as many gardens as possible, and everybody has things that they need. Everybody has requirements, but you can't talk, so I can't tell anybody what I need. Instead, I can remove tiles out of the garden and add other ones. So we are going to be constantly adding tiles and moving them and removing them. So I need to pay attention to what other people are removing. Oh, you keep removing a tile from that spot? Well, maybe then your requirement is you can't have that tile in that spot. That feels like a safe assumption in this scenario. And you have 15 minutes to arrange as many gardens as you can. So it's not like you just arrange one, hey, we all successfully accomplished what we needed to accomplish, yay, we win. No. You then flip that over and try to do another one, and try to do another one, and try to do another one, and you try to do as many as you can in 15 minutes, and your score will be based on how many you can accomplish in that time period. So, if you got a bunch of loud friends and you want them to be quiet during game night, this is an opportunity. You got to sit in silence when you play this one. Skytear Games is releasing Skytear Horde to retail. This is a card battle game in the same world as a Magic the Gathering or a Keyforge or something like that. So if you like card battle games, then check out Skytear Horde. This one is a lane-based card battle game, though, so you have specific lanes that you have to play cards in. It can be played either in a competitive game mode, where one player controls all the monsters, and then 1 or 2 players team up to fight as the alliance against the monsters, or you can also play it cooperative. The game can control the monsters, or you can play it solo, just you against the monsters. And so whoever is playing as the alliance trying to fight against the monsters, there's a tower defense aspect to it. You are trying to protect your tower from these monsters. And, there are a lot of really cool card art in this game. It looks really awesome. And so if you are somebody that wants to, that likes those sort of tradable card games, this one, they plan to release more content for it, I'm sure. But right now it is just this version, and you can fight waves of monsters. Oh no, the monsters are riding waves now? The monsters have learned how to surf. We've lost the game when the monsters have learned how to surf. Thunderworks Games is releasing Goblin Vaults, and Thunderworks mostly does bigger box games, games like Role Player or Tenpenny Parks or things like that. Goblin Vaults is a smaller box game, more in the line of like Cartographer's size. And this is a really clever trick-taking bidding game. In the game, you will be playing cards to bid on other cards. Now, another player can just bid on a different card, or they can underbid you for the card that you bid on. You will still win the card you bid on, but the player that underbid you now gets the card that they used to underbid to add to their tableau. So you have cards in your hand, and the only way you can ever get these cards down into your own tableau to score is if you underbid somebody in the bidding phase, which is a really unique, clever thing. I've never seen that in a game before, so that's one of the things that makes me excited about this. I like bidding games in general. I think it's really interesting to think about what are other people going for, how do I beat them to it, how do I get what I want. I love the player interaction of bidding games. And Goblin Vaults, definitely not a game that has like a ton of theme, right? You are goblins in prison and you're bidding on stuff to make your goblin prison life easier. I don't really know what it is. It's all about the mechanism. So if you like clever card mechanisms, this is one to check out for sure. Plays 1 to 5 players in 30 to 45 minutes. And if you do like trick-taking games, then also check out the next one, Wicked and Wise from Weird Giraffe Games. If you're in the market for unique trick-taking games, both Goblin Vaults and Wicked and Wise are doing unique things in the genre. Wicked and Wise is a team-based trick-taking game. So some players are going to play as dragons and some players are going to play as mice. And the dragons are the ones trying to actually win the tricks. The mice get special abilities they can use to help their dragon win the trick. They are manipulating the game in different ways to help their teammate dragon. So because of that, it is a 2 to 6 player game, but everybody I've talked to says that it's best at 4, right? Because it's best when one person is controlling all of the different roles instead of, playing at 2, you have to control both of the roles at the same time and that sort of stuff. It's less intriguing that way. So if you want to try a team-based trick-taking game, this is one of the only ones out there that I know of. I've played a bunch of cooperative trick-taking games. I've played, competitive ones. This is the only team-based one I've heard about. So, I like trick-taking a lot, so I'm excited to check it out for sure. WizKids is releasing the game Rebuilding Seattle. So this is an economic polyomino tile laying game. It mixes those mechanisms. Thematically, Seattle burned down in the late 1800s, and you are a city planner that is trying to build it back up. And can you be the most effective at building your city? Can your city be the best laid out and get you the most points? That's what you're doing in the game, but it's a cool mix of those different mechanisms. I like tile laying games a lot, so that's one of the things that makes me excited about this. It's a 1 to 5 player game, and it plays in 60 to 120 minutes. And it is a medium weight game for sure. So if you're looking for a medium weight game that has some tile laying and a bunch of other stuff going on, it doesn't really matter that it's Seattle. I don't know that comes across, but you are building a city, and that comes across. There's also a solo deck in the game. If you're somebody that likes to play games solo, you can do this one solo. And the last game on my list for this month, WizKids is also releasing Detective Rummy. This is a game that mixes Rummy-style card-based play with a storytelling element where you're trying to solve some cases over 7 different cases. There are 7 different cases in the game, and so you are solving 7 different cases. Now, it leans way more into the detective Rummy style card-based game than the detective style game. You're not going to be really solving mysteries in this game. You are going to be playing cards, and when I say detective Rummy style, when I say Rummy style, it means like, you're playing pairs, you're playing runs, you're playing things like that. And though playing different cards is going to allow you to manipulate stuff, move evidence around, figure out some things, stuff like that. But it really is more focused on the card-based part of the game than the detective solve some crimes style game. You can play it in campaign mode, where you play all 7 cases in order, or you can play it case mode, where you play each one of them individually. It's up to you how you play this game. That is Detective Rummy. So that's what I got for you. Those are the 25 best games coming to retail in February 2023. If you want to support me and this video, you can do so on patreon.com/GrantsGameRex. This video takes a lot of different work. I talk to hundreds of different publishers and research all these games and do all that sort of stuff. So if you want to support this series, you could do so for only a couple of bucks a month, and you get perks out of it too, you know, stuff like that. So, you know, yeah, check it out. Thanks for liking and subscribing and doing all that sort of stuff. I appreciate it very much. I'm Grant with Grant's Game Rex.